And we're going to open this up and see what we've got today. But thanks to Space Coast Woodturners. Thank you. If I measure from the outside edge of this circle all the way around, this is my center point. But the problem is I have a deep cut on this side. And if we measure down in, I know that it's 5/8 of an inch. So we're going to subtract 5/8 of an inch off, and that's going to make my center point over here. That way I'm not losing all the way around. It's going to be a little off when I put it on the lathe, so it's going to be out of balance a little bit, but it won't take long to get it cleared back up again. So I'm going to make my center point here, not here. Also, I was going to do a screw chuck on this, but I realized that we have a crack running straight across here, and it is down in probably 1.5 inches almost. So what I'm going to do is I want to put a faceplate on this so I know I've got solid connection all the way around, because my screw chuck's going to be right beside that crack, and I'm a little worried that that might be loose. It does have a nice knot right here, so we're going to see what that branch has got underneath it. So we'll take it down a little bit right now. This is beautiful stuff. Oh, I wish I knew what it was. Well, thank you, Space Coast Woodturners. This is fantastic. This is like Christmas. We got ambrosia going on here, and this is a red. This is not maple. I cannot believe it is maple, because it's got too much red in it. Could also be that it's in a crotch, but this is ambrosia here. Almost cleared up and in round there. The rest of it's looking really good. We got a knot here. This is actually looks like where the pith is, but she's holding good. Somebody filled this with something already, because there's something in there right now. This is what I mean. You don't know until you get into something what you really got. That is like glass. This is very, very hard and tight grained wood. It's cutting beautifully. That looks like maple. It does. It looks like ambrosia maple. Just got a lot of detail going on in it. This grain looks like maple. I would say this is ambrosia maple. Oh. All right, I used some CA glue here, in fact, real thin CA glue, just try and fill these cracks up a little bit and hold it together. Now I'm going to flatten this up and take out the center here. But I'm going to leave it fat because I'm going to do some repairs on the holes I've got here. What I want is to push this stuff out of here, and then we're going to fill this. This one over here probably doing the same thing. So I'm going to go work on that for a little bit, and I'll be back. It's that maple ambrosia bowl that we're working on. What I did is I pushed out the knot that was here, and then I filled it with epoxy, but then I also covered back over with copper. And that's the one on the back side. That's that knot I kicked out. I got epoxy in there, and then on the top, I just lightly coated with copper, and it filled all the little creases. A guy from Space Coast Woodturners suggested using copper, so I'm using copper. All right, I got the tail totally removed from here. This is ready for tongue oil and a signature. She came out quite nice. This is from Space Coast Woodturners. I was given this, well, I won it in a raffle at Space Coast Woodturners. But pretty darn nice. I like how the copper turned out. I don't know if you're curious, but I certainly am. I have no idea what this is going to do to coloring the bowl. So manufacturer's website said to get it on there and then actually just rub it in with your gloves. So that's what we're going to do. It hasn't changed the color that much, just a little bit, but it's going to be a very blonde bowl. I like darker, but hey, it's always fun to try something new. I have a very slow speed on here. Actually, I can get it down to 40 RPMs. So that's what I'm going to do, is going to get this right down to 40 RPMs. I'm going to get that groove right there as best I can without touching the chuck. I don't know if it would hurt anything if I touch the chuck, but just trying to get it on the wood first. And then we're going to smooth it out with our hands. Got a much darker look than it had to start with. We'll put this up against the other one and you'll be able to see it pretty well. All right. This is 40 RPMs. There it is. It's the first coat. Simple enough procedure. Turn it off for a second so we can see what it's looking like. Looks good. I am probably mixed twice as much as I needed. So the next layer, I only use half as much. There's the color of it before it was put on, and that's the color after. Before and after. We'll see how this works. Now this needs to go for 2.5 hours, and then I put a second coat on it. This is a piece of laurel oak. This was taken down about 2 weeks ago. And what I've got here is 25% water content on this. So this is a very wet piece of wood. And we're going to turn this into a final turn, a very thin bowl. And what I want to do, the goal is to actually show you how much that bowl will warp. But each species warps and does things differently. But oak has a tendency to warp quite a bit. I'm running at 630 RPM. Now, because we're doing this as a finished bowl, I want the outside to be as clean as I can get it on my cut. So I'm going to take this hump off right here and get it so it's got a nice curve to it. And then we'll come back and we'll do a nice clean cut. Ready? That's ready for sandpaper. but it's wet. If you put start sanding this right now, you'll gum your paper right up. I'm going to put a center point on here. And I'm going to flip her around. We're going to take this all the way down, and then I'm going to clean it. I'm going to get a flat edge on the front here, and then I'm going to clean out the inside. And after I get all done doing that, I'm going to take the tenon off the backside. So we may have it'll be a harder sanding job, but I want the tenon off because with the tenon on, it creates a different warp than if I took the tenon off. So we're going to take the tenon right off. We're running at about 1,000 RPM. One of the things I noticed when I flipped it around and put it on the chuck, she seems to be a little bit out of round on the backside already. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and with it on the chuck and clean the backside up real quick before I take the strength out of the side of the bowl. There it is. Now I'm back into smooth. Now I'm going to take her in. All right, I'm about 3/16 of an inch thick right there. I think that's good enough to get it to dry. Round over the top, and then we're going to go to the bottom. You can see the wetness right here on the side coming right out of the end grain. Now we're going to clean out the bottom of this, but that's pretty good right there. It's fun. I love cutting it down all the way. Three inches. I got 3 5/8, so I got 5/8 of an inch thickness on the bottom. I'm pretty close to where I want to be. And now I'm going to take this side down in, so I'm going to get a little bit more light on the subject. So now I can see my edge better. I'm going to push this around the curve. We're at a point that I may want to do this with a scraper. I'm just going to blend these edges in here. That gives you an idea just how thin this bowl is. But we're going to see how much it'll warp. I'm going to take the tail off of it right now. There it is. We just got to wait for this to dry a little bit, and then we'll sand it up. For as thin as this bowl is, it's amazing how much it weighs because it's so wet yet. The bottom is probably about 1/4 inch thick. But we'll wait for this. We'll set this aside for probably about 2 weeks and this will be dry. We're calling this the egg bowl because it is 9 1/4 wide and 10 3/4 tall. So this thing is out around by 1.5 inches. But all of it happened in the very first 24 hours. I'm going to put tung oil on here. But this is very, very light colored. This is actually the sapwood of the laurel oak. This is a very, very light bowl. Usually when I have something this light, I'll do something to give it a detail, but I didn't do it. I wished I had put burn lines on the outside. You can't do it now because of the bowl is so out of whack that it won't. Boy, I can't believe all of that I just put in here just got soaked right up in. Wow. Wow, that is crazy. Right, you can see it coming right straight through. This is a very thin bowl. If you had dark furniture, this would look really nice against it. I'm going to let this sit for about 15 minutes, and then I'm going to wipe it right back off again.